We're doing martial arts.
Big surprise. Huge surprise.
I'm starting to get in a bad mood, you know? Maybe it's like a mood swing, my hormones, I don't know. You know, maybe it's my need to impose my will.
Good evening. You're listening live to Kickin' It from the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you live just west of Orlando, Florida from the Pine Hills Palace in my underground studio where I'm beaming out a transmission to somebody who, Doctor, earlier during the pre-show, it sounded like you were chowing down on some bat soup there, Dr. V. What's going on?
No, not some soup. No, I'm chewing down on some chicken, bro.
Okay. Yeah,
You gotta
because
see
this
the,
whole coronavirus thing kind of with during Contagion week here on the Xtreme Movie Show made me think of 28 Days Later, and I think something we had talked about doing for quite some time. And frankly, nothing says, a contagion like a zombie apocalypse. But actually, the one that started it all for the most part. So what are your initial thoughts about 28 Days Later, Doctor?
well, this movie when it came out, 2002, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it in the theater with my friend, and I was just floored by how actually great it was. This is also the first movie where I ever saw, unfortunately, it starts off, with Cecilia Murphy being naked. So I did not expect that, and that was like the most disgusting part of the movie.
There's a lot of
Seeing
dong
the guy's
shots
dong.
in here early on. Yes,
I did
Cillian
not expect
Dong
that.
Murphy.
I mean, it must be a British thing, I guess, but
It's a European thing. They don't shy away from the nudity like the Americans.
And this movie, though, I loved it back then, and I haven't seen it since 2002. So it's been about 18 years for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember watching the sequel to this, and the sequel wasn't as good. But even though the sequel, I still recommend if you've seen this one and you like this one, still watch the sequel. I mean, you're not paying top dollar, to watch it. You could probably get it for $5 if you buy it at a Walmart. I mean, especially now if you're stuck at home with the coronavirus and all that stuff. There's a lot of movies looking for. You can find it on Vudu, probably on maybe not Netflix. I don't think Netflix has this anymore, but it depends by region. But Amazon Prime, or just Google search. But anyway, this movie though, I loved it. And I forgot how just awesome certain parts of this movie were great. Yeah, there's just a few parts where it's kind of slow, but man, those slow parts followed up by were just like over the top, just intense scenes.
Yeah, to me, it's pretty much like an action movie, and I noticed on Prime as well as Netflix with everything new coming out. It seems like there's a lot more zombie stuff. Just apparently, we talked about Z Nation on our best of with Netflix, and over on the channel on Prime, we were watching this early this morning, and I noticed, wow, I hadn't seen it like you in almost 18, 20 years, and I watched it, and I thought, this movie for me is more style than substance. That being said, it's very good looking or very satisfying Twinkie. It's probably not the best, healthiest thing for you in terms of it being good, but once in a while it's just awesome and better than probably a good steak. It's just one of those types of movies, and I agree with you. This is the movie that made on a micro budget, like maybe $8-10 million. It's made like 70-80. It made a lot. And sequels, you can say whatever you want about it, but I tell you, I liked it. Plus, it's a European kind of view, not necessarily the Americanized one, and you can see from this movie where other people got influenced. The fast zombies, the blood squirting, which I thought was done really well in this movie. The fact that it's got pretty much a dopey male lead who doesn't seem particularly smart, and the women are the strong, early roles in this movie when you think about it, plus the ending, which we'll talk about. So yeah, I mean, as long as you're not eating bat soup, I mean, to each his own. And you're a doctor, so I'm sure you've got, I'm sure you've got the solution there in case something weird happens. But
Well, the best part is you live on a farm away from everybody. You're good. You know?
that's true. And people
uh,
forget there are microclimates and microtype situations like that. So,
always prepare. Have ammo. Have extra toilet paper. You never know.
uh, yeah. So this whole contagion for 28 Days Later starts off, and what I think is a pretty interesting scene. It starts off where you see a bunch of animals, and you can tell they're being tested, and then there's one chimpanzee that's like, all tied up, and he's being shown pictures of really disgusting stuff. And I thought that's a great image. There's some fantastic shots in here, which is to me is one of the highlights of the movies. It's just not the music, but the shots. Yeah, it's signs of apocalyptic stuff, people burning, rioting, just all sorts of
when I
ugliness. And he's whimpering, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of dark. It's
dude, when I
interesting way to
saw that,
start.
when he was strapped to the thing, at first it popped in my head with Mystery Science Theater 3000, the guy being forced to watch all the bad movies.
I know. But then we get a bunch of animal activists. You take it from here. I know you were fond of this scene.
And yeah, this scene is right here. The monkey's just chilling. He's fine. He's not really that in much pain. He's just watching stuff. They probably give him a cigarette afterwards when he's done. Who knows? It's apparently it's a high security facility, but there's no guards.
True.
So and we find these people come in. They're like, "Whoa, we're gonna free the monkeys. This is cool. How dare you?" They see the monkey strapped to the thing, and it's like the cage. Like, we're gonna free monkeys. He's like, "Don't let them out. They're high infectious." You're like, "What do you mean infectious?" Like, they're infected with rage. And I'm like,
So
They
silly.
probably just couldn't.
They're
They probably
upset
couldn't say.
males. Apes.
I'm thinking right there. This low budget movie probably couldn't say zombie. but no. So they're like, well, rage or whatever. They're like, we're just gonna free him. You're evil. He's like, don't do it. And she's like, she opens the cage. Come here, little guy. So more of the story. Zombie outbreak in this movie starts because a woman couldn't accept the fact that they're testing on animals. And yeah, PETA. This is it. These people is uneducated people. They go in there. I'm gonna do what I want to do, ignore everybody else, and screw everyone else over in case I'm wrong. And of course, this movie, yeah. So
I'm
that's
sure
how
they
it
got
starts
what they
out.
wanted, though. A lot of people dying because there's a big part of people who want
And I
population
and
control.
when she gets bitten by the chimp, I'm thinking of that lady who got mauled to death by Travis, monkey, the chimp, a couple years back in the news.
Uh huh.
So, well, she survived. It was her friend's chimp. She was taking care of her house sitting, and the thing just went crazy.
When animals attack,
I'm
bro.
thinking, so chimps are bad. Chimps are not cuddly. You can you see people with trainers where they're hugging him stuff. That's a chimp on the good day. You don't see the bad days. And this chimp's on rabies. He's still an animal.
He's hopped up on
But
the rage virus, which they don't really explain. It's just a convenient
I
thing.
mean,
So, like I say, plot wise, you have to check your brain.
he's on ecstasy or something. He's freaking out. Someone's trying to reach your hand by him. He's the first thing he says. He's like, "Get your dirty paws off, you dirty human." I don't know. But
I wonder if he was caught in a hotel room with somebody that was almost a governor of the state of Florida and a bunch of meth bags and a male prostitute, because, that would be kind of weird. But no, chimps are just, yeah, and he's injected with all sorts of drugs. You don't know what's going on. But the thing too is like, say the image of the chimp just laying there, kind of, moaning or whatever, seeing all this bad stuff, and they're measuring his brain. They got the brain thingy on, and then like in less than a minute, he's ripping the throat out. You're like, hey, crap! That they mean business in this movie, or at least you think they do, because
Well,
the way they do the blood spurt now, it's like, it's not slow motion, but it's kind of like cut a little bit like people do on YouTube videos now with audio and everything to make it sound really, really fast and in your face. It's not natural, and it looks fantastic.
well,
And this had not been done before in any movie except maybe Blade.
I like the fact that the virus started with chimps. That's I was outbreak with the Ebola, being passed by through the animals. They were carriers. So I mean, at least to keep that as far as a nod to all the homage movies, because I'm not sure how the original Dawn of the Dead started. Like, if it was just like just like a new chemical they're working with or whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, I like the fact that they started with this, and then we go to I guess 28 days later after this,
That is correct,
we
sir.
see Cecilia Murphy waking up in a hospital. And at first I thought he had a catheter in him because that freaked me out too. If I woke up and I had a catheter to me, I had no idea why.
Hmm.
First of all, it's uncomfortable. Second of all, there's no one there. We see him taking the he needs an IV. He just kind of like yanks it out or slowly pulls it out. I mean, one little move he could have ended right there for him. But this scene was always stuck with me because when The Walking Dead appeared, we see Rick waking up from a coma in a hospital.
Yep.
I'm thinking like, is anything not original, especially American stuff? Because American has a habit of copying foreign films and
Yes.
then repurposing it. Yeah, so I always give this movie as being the props as being the first movie to actually to bring back in the 2000s to actually revitalize the zombie genre. So then to this, it kind of died off. It died what the 1980s or 1970s was the last we had like the Dawn of the Deads and all stuff, the Day of Deads.
Yeah, the
They
late
weren't,
80s,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. So it wasn't. It's 2002, almost 20 years later, and we're finally getting zombie genres to go back. What's cool about this is that and being the normal zombies go greatest sprays, walk slow. These ones actually book it. You know, which is a little more scary, but it's not as ridiculous as World War Z, where they climb up like ants. I could deal with this one. I could see this being more acceptable. This is what I'd see like Resident Evil game. You know, where they move. But uh, well, it's only been 20 days for him being in a coma. So we find out that he basically he was in a coma because he was a bike courier. He got hit by a car. So he wakes up. There's no one. He's in a hospital all by himself. There's no one for miles and stuff. He goes to the vending machine. It's about to be destroyed. It's a Mars. What I thought was cool is a Pepsi, and then there's a Mars vending machine. It's like those chocolate bars. So
Well, yeah, and here's the thing too about the movie. It's a movie that's not really heavy on plot, and there's really not a lot of spoken word in it. So I appreciate the atmosphere of it, and we mentioned offline too how much we really like the music. But even in here, we talk about the monkey scene where the monkey's ripping the throat out of the person, the activist. But then here, after he wakes up, whether the nudity thing freaks you out or not, he's walking around and he's what's smart about this film is that it seems realistic, not so much the zombies, but for what the guy's reaction is. He's immediately thirsty, he's immediately hungry, he wants to get the hell out of there. He knows something's wrong. He starts piling up a bunch of sodas. They take the time for us to watch him actually like chug one really quick, which is something we would all do. We might
uh,
pee or poop or whatever
my
once the
my
medication wears
only
off, but it's
my
good.
only my only complaint with this though, I'll give the props to The Walking Dead. When Rick woke up, he could barely walk. I don't know how much longer in a coma he was in, but at least 28 days in a coma, you'd think you'd be kind of fatigued a little bit. You kind of get slow. Yeah, he's able to kind of like move and with no problems. They even commented in the movie how she says like you're skinny, you're weak, you have been eating sugar. That's why you're crashing. Uh, it,
Yeah, he's not a
it,
big guy, and the
no,
one element to this film that we won't really talk about too much because it's not something I really put a lot of effort into is it almost seems like it's a feminist film and that he is physically a weak guy, whether it's by his position or just by the way he's made to look, because he's got a distinguishing kind of look about him.
I think
It's
he's
not very
just British.
masculine. Well, some people would say that, of course, but jokingly or not. But of course, all the women in here are the strong characters, which we'll see as we get to those parts. But for me, in here, what was so beautiful about this film is the scenes. Like, there's a scene, like I said, where he walks out and you see London. You see him there. I think it's London Bridge or Tower Bridge or whatever it is, where you see
You see
Parliament,
that
Big
Ferris
Ben.
wheel, and
Yeah,
everything's just like quiet,
yeah, and
nothing.
it's just awesome, man. It just doesn't rush. It doesn't whatever. But if you start thinking really, really hard about what's going on with the zombies and the logistics of it all, and sometimes movies do a bad job because you find yourself thinking about that rather than the characters, then you've lost the audience to me. And then here, it's just enough where we don't necessarily hate the guy or we don't know what's going on with the guy, other than he seems like an average Joe. But pretty quick, he gets caught up, and so we're interested in his situation, the people that are with him, and what's going to happen. And one of the strengths of this movie, again, is there are some fabulous shots of London where it's just empty and you don't hear music. You just maybe hear or see a few birds passing by. There's some really great shots where you look and you see the depth looking across the city. And it's pretty awesome because, some people try to attack him. He ends up meeting this lady and some people, and they end up in somebody's home, and then of course this is when you start finding out some of the not the constraints, I guess you will, of this film in terms of like the zombies. A little bit of light
Well,
tracks them, and these guys will run and jump right through a window to come straight at you. It's like as soon as they see a zombie, they're on you. They're not messing around.
I like how he's just walking to town for like for good what 20 minutes or he's 10-15 minutes he's walking from the hospital. It's probably about 20 minutes in. You see him walking there. He finds out all these things like repent the end or sort of what on the building says the end is fucking nigh. And then you have like all these things. Have you all the posters like have you seen me? Have you seen this? No person, all
Yeah,
stuff.
that's a good shot. Yeah, the message boards
Uh,
and stuff.
and he's just
Yeah,
walking and he starts freaking out a little bit because he's like he's yelling, "Hello, hello, anybody there?" The first thing pops in my movie because obviously because we've all seen zombie movies or anything movies. When you're by yourself, you don't freaking yell out because you don't know who or what's gonna find you. And the fact that he's not properly armed, it'll bug me too. Like I mean, well, I don't know if they have gun shops or gun stores in London or anything about, but I would at least grab their freaking lead pipe or something. So he sees all these people that are missing and all that stuff, their notes stuff, and he starts to feel bad. And then he sees a church. So he goes walks in the church, he sees this, and then he walks in. He sees all these people on the bottom of the floor. He's up in the balcony part. So and also he's like, "Hello," and like and they say move up, and you're like, "Oh," and then you see the priest stumbling in,
yeah.
and it's so dark you can't tell, but you hear kind of like a zombie noise.
Hmm.
So you're like, he's kind of like, hello, hello, and like the father, like he tries like he knocks him down. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, father." I'm thinking, dude, a father would not sound like that and try to grab you and and like growl. It's like I would not be apologetic and be like, "Oh crap, I'm out of here," because So apparently they're right there when we see them because apparently they're all hiding in the daylight. You're noticing this. This is like basically I Am Legend. They
Yep.
must have. I wonder if they have a photosensitivity to lights. They don't like being in the light during the nighttime. There's no particular proof to this at all in the movie, but
Well, at this
yeah,
point, at
I
this
mean,
point here, when he meets everything, yeah, you're still figuring out what's going on with the zombies, and you're still. I mean, I think everybody's seen this movie, or if you haven't seen it, really, it's the type of setup where we realize that the humans are really the bad people, not the zombies. The zombies are just there to illustrate the story. They're not nearly the main focus because when you do see them, they're fast, they're quick, and then it's over, just like a virus in a way, so to speak. Seeing as how it's Contagion week, but to your point, once he goes through all this, you go, well, hey, is this guy even going to make it? Has he got the balls? Has he got the chutzpah? I mean, is he bitter and cynical enough to go, oh, shit's hit the fan. I really need to man up because he almost seems like he's a sensitive Sally in a way. Like he's just like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going on. But to his point, he's, this is kind of almost a real time situation that you see him walking around. And by the time they get to the house, and they get attacked in the evening, and he meets up with some other people. Then you're going, okay, now I see where this is going to go. And this is a long film too. It's about 2 hours long. It's not like 88 minutes or something. So it's very patient with what it builds up to.
yeah. So like I said, I've always like future apocalypse. I love people don't like The Walking Dead or anything like that. So I can understand why certain things you plot devices, but being by yourself and it's kind of lonely, but it's like first it's like I get to do whatever I want. Kind of like anarchy is like this. Obviously, you're gonna have people run into who are gonna want stuff, but it's like at this point, it's survival of the fittest. Who will survive, the weak or the strong?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, I mean, obviously, I like the fact that he kept instead of going like crazy and just becoming a badass, he kept it more realistic. Because more realistic, more people are not really like, oh, okay. They try to avoid confrontation and stuff else. So, yes, I said he comes off kind of weak, in this movie, but you think about it, not everybody says like, "Oh, I'm going to do this and this," but when it finally happens, you kind of freak out.
Yeah.
Especially you're not expecting this. I mean, when he finally meets those two people, he's being chased from the church. The zombies are after himself, and then he's these two people in like these suits and the gas vests and all this stuff. All of a sudden they throw Molotov cocktails at the three zombies chasing him. They're on fire and stuff, and they quick run behind the building and they're waiting there as more and more coming, and they get these like basically like explosions or something like that explosions. They basically just to knock them back, save them. and he's basically this comes to meets the lady. Forget what her name is.
Selena,
And then Selena, and
not
then
the
another
singer.
guy. Yes, not Catwoman either. Um, no, this he it's where he meets her and Selena. My first impression of her, yeah, is she kind of a bitch? A little bit, but you gotta realize that with her is that she's been in the shit longer than he is. She's probably watched her close friends die or turn, or she had to kill them.
Yeah.
She even says like, you get 20 seconds, like and for the turn, it's like in your life you have to kill them, because you can't hold them back. Your family member, your friends, it could be your even lover. You have to kill them. If you hesitate, you're dead. So I don't know how many family members she's had to do this, or how many kills she killed at this point. You know, so she comes off kind of a little bit of a C. Yeah.
Well, I think with
uh,
I think with her though, it's Naomi Harris is the character playing Selena. This is obviously her early on. She kind of has a very strong role in some of the Bond movies, if you want to call it that. But it almost seemed like there's just a whole scene of them meeting up was convenient, so you could see them like kill some zombies in the house stuff. But the real movie to me really takes off when they, after the people in her group die, and then they two kind of leave, and you're like, okay, that you know that there's going to have to be a
well,
plot, like they got to do something, but they meet this
I
guy Frank and his daughter
let's,
Hannah.
let's I mean let's talk about the whole freaking when he goes to his parents' house.
Hmm.
His name Jimmy or Jim. That's the main guy,
Jim. Hmm.
Cillian Murphy. And he finds his parents are dead. His parents, well, they knew he was in a coma, so they basically took sleeping pills themselves and basically overdosed and died themselves in the bed. They left a note on the back of a picture of him saying, like, Jimmy, we went to sleep because you're sleeping. Just don't wake up. We love you. You know? Uh, so there are people like that, So him, remember, at this point, remember, he's still not, he doesn't understand what's going on, stuff. So he has a candle going, he has the movie going.
Hmm.
The other two, I must have been sleeping or something. And then he's standing there, all of a sudden a zombie just jumps right through the freaking window. You're not expect At this point, I'm not expecting, Mark, it's kind of a
Yeah.
slow point movie.
Yeah.
That's what I love. It's like, you kind of get used to the calm, it's been fine, and all else. And then just like instantly, it's just like, bam, he's been attacked. Their one friend, uh, he you're not sure if he's been bit or what, but he's been cut. It could have been from glass from the patio window. Who knows? But that limit Selena, she's not hesitating. She's like you've been bit or scratched. He's like no. It's like he's like hold on. He's like and even Jim is like he's like dude hold on. It's like and she just starts whacking him with the machete. Starts
Yeah.
killing him.
It's pretty
It's
vicious.
like I was like holy crap. And she's like, and then that's what gives the speech is like, it's like he could have been bit. We don't know if he's been bit. We don't have time though. The wait for it only takes 20 seconds from the turn on us. He kills both. So it's like, I'm just like the point is like, damn, I don't want to be with her, but I kind of want her to protect me, but also I don't trust her because she's gonna turn on me. You know, I can have. Is it a paper cut? No, it's a paper cut.
Yeah, and this is where he's seeming like he's like a little lost puppy, and she's like grudgingly allowing him to be with him. But it's like, okay, whatever. And this is where, to me, I was almost getting mad at how stupid the movie is in terms of some of the stuff because you're right. This pretty much happens pretty quick. But and I was fast forwarding to where they meet
Well,
Frank and
he
Hannah because
yeah,
they're
he's just
walking and they see this tower. And there's somebody's got like Christmas tree lights on it in the middle of the night. It's like, what the hell are you doing? Are you that stupid? I mean, it's just like, come on.
flashing lights. Yeah,
Yeah. But
as
they,
a SOS.
I,
That's what it's doing. I think most code SOS. That's what it's doing.
again, it just seemed kind of dumb because you'd figure within 28 days they'd figure it out because this guy Frank, he's got like a daughter who's becoming a woman, as they say. She's like 13, 14, 15 in that age. She's kind of young, but she's blossoming, as they say, growing into her body. So that'll be important later. But they meet Jim, they meet Selena, and they eat and they're talking. And what's kind of cool here again is to your point where they have a really fast sequence, and then they meet up. There's a little bit of zombie action, but not that great. But then when they get to the place, they start talking about the situation. Like, okay, here's the plot of the movie. They're hearing a recording saying that, hey, look, if you come here, we've got a solution. And it just repeats and recycles, and they kind of talk about it, and they make the decision as a group. It's better than staying here and possibly dying. Let's check it out, even if it's not real, because it's in Manchester, so they gotta get in their car and get there. But it was neat when he takes them up to the roof of the public housing unit, and you've got like all the rain buckets, and the guy's like, it's Britain, and guess what? It hasn't rained in a couple weeks. Go figure, and whatever that's supposed to indirectly hint about with global warming or any of those types of things. It was just sort of ironic. We'd leave it there. But again, here, while they're talking, while they're on top, while they're in the guy's place on the patio listening to the broadcast, you're seeing all of these great shots of the background. And whether it's digitized or not, what was really cool about it is like you can see the clouds moving like in real time going by. And it just, for this to happen in a movie as good as it looked when it came out was pretty rare at the time, almost 20 years ago. So it just looks great. And then, of course, when they all decide to go to this outpost, a couple hours away, we're in Manchester. It's a little north of Manchester, a little small area. They're hopping in their car, which they end up getting into a tunnel, and stuff happens. So, what do you remember about this scene?
This is where it gets very British. He's a taxi driver.
Yep.
So, and like, they're trying to promote, well, I don't know if it's true about taxi drivers, but taxi drivers are supposed to be like badass, So he drives a taxi and he starts to go to the tunnel and it's blocked up by stuff. He guns it, drives over all the cars.
Which is completely stupid.
I'm thinking, yeah. And they end up getting a flat.
Which is funny. I like that. I was like, okay, if they're going to be stupid, pay the price.
Yeah, so what's just funny is that they're like, there's such a small little vehicle, so they all lift 1, 2, 3, and the girl changes the tire, and stuff, while the zombies are coming. Because first the rats come, they're like, that's the one thing I liked it too. Even Walking Dead's incorporated in their for current season is you start seeing all these flood of rats come away because the walkers are coming.
Zombies, yeah.
So that's I love the fact that they incorporate this into the movie. I don't know if that was in part of the original zombie movies. I've never really watched the old school George Romero stuff.
Really.
I've seen them. They're here, there, on the but yeah. So I love the fact that Jim is starting to nut up more. He's starting to, he's starting to realize, what, I can't be a pussy anymore. He's got the bat, carrying the bat around, the wooden bat, because right after this, remember they stopped at the burger shop. They wanted to go get something. Well, no. Before that, they wanted to go get groceries, and then he went to stop at the burger thing. He's like, I'm going to get a burger. He's like, okay, well, finally, he goes in there, and the first thing comes in, it's like a little 10-year-old kid, or 12 or 12 years old, and the kid, he's like, I'm thinking, is he gonna
on the fruit coast too? This little kid, I'm telling you, he's spitting blood. He's not happy.
I thought he was gonna hesitate and the girls got to save him, but nope. You see him coming out, he's wiping off his bat. So obviously the kid show murder a kid on the movie. That probably would have tanked the movie. But this kind of, because remember, we watch zombie movies, you don't really see kids being zombies. This is the first I've ever seen a kid zombie in a movie or anywhere. Days Gone is a PS4 game that came out a year or two ago, and there were little kid zombies in that one. You had to kill, you had to shoot and stuff. So it's people kind of shy away from that, but I like the fact that they added that in this movie. Hey, you know what? It isn't excluding children, because what do you think? So it makes you
though too, because it's a guy killing another guy, and we're seeing him evolve. You could argue though, he's evolving into a zombie with the way we'll talk about the end, in a sense that he goes from a soft guy to a guy here that's a survivalist and then becomes vicious at the end.
He was innocent and sweet, and now he's becoming corrupted, and just the world's changing him, and he's just becoming violent, and just survivalist. And like I said, is the other thing about this movie, and when these kids to kill the kid zombie. You ever notice that whenever they show zombies, they don't really show kids anywhere. So I mean, are all the kids just gone eaten? It's were they the first ones picked off?
I have a theory about that, which we'll say for the end because it's tied to the ending and something they say. But that's a good point too, especially again when you're thinking of the logistics of the zombies and you're questioning the intelligence of some of the decision making. You can almost get a little pissed off, but the movie's just so damn good with its shots and its music, and it's not talking too much. It's a film. You're watching it. You're not watching a bunch of people give you everything by talking. It more than makes up for it, no matter how we sound about it, because the neat thing here is you get kind of more of the same, but it's so good you don't care. And that as they drive to Manchester, you're seeing all these great shots of the empty expressways, and of course the town when they go in. You get some depth shots on fire. All the wild stuff going on. But at night they had kind of like set up shop a little bit, and it turns out that the cab driver Frank had gotten infected, and so he's turning, and so they have to whack him. But what happens is the soldiers, apparently from this broadcast, whack him, and then they take these people to their above ground bunker, their Pine Hills Palace, if you will, some sort of fortified mansion on some sort of estates. It's got, the barbed wire. I mean, you're like, okay, they fall into a transmission thing. But everything up to this point is set up for this third act, for what really happens in here. And the whole place is run by Major West. Now I don't know this guy, but you were telling me offline that this is a dude. So explain what's going on here
Uh,
with the Major.
his name is Michael Atkinson. I believe is what his name is. Either Christopher or Michael. Or but
Christopher.
this is a guy who Christopher is he started out in I believe it's GI Joe. He played basically the guy on the Chrome Dome, the silver. He has the silver head.
Hmm.
He's the leader of Cobra, the general. And then the next thing I saw him a couple of years later was 2006, was when he took on the role of the revitalized Doctor Who show. So this guy has been in a few different roles. Um, so I'm not so yeah. He's a good actor, and the fact that he was in this movie, I mean, like, kind of helped me. And plus, it's a British movie. I want to have some British, people in here. It would have been fun to have an American tourist just be in there, like, "What's up, guys?" You're like, "Oh, freaking Americans!" That would have been funny. But unfortunately, they did not do that in this. No, um, they wanted to be more of a serious thing. But I mean, when we get to we're the part where now they're in with the army, where they basically left the barricade or that bridge over there, and now they took over this little like building or you know someone's home.
It's like a little farmhouse
and they're
on
all
a couple acres.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, and they've got it down. People are
And
doing stuff. It's
and
just the real deal.
I did not remember this movie at all towards the end there. I'm like, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, they're taking him to this. I'm like, I don't trust these people because anybody with guns automatically it's a red flag for me because even though you're military, who's to say they're military? It
Exactly.
could be someone posing as someone else and just lure people into traps. Rob them, shoot them, and take their stuff. That's usually how it goes in these apocalyptic worlds. People pose, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm safe," and they just mow you down and they take your stuff.
It makes me think too of The Walking Dead, how much of the general and that whole town was influenced by this, because General West or Major West or whatever he calls himself in here, the character you're talking about, he actually comes across as not arrogant but confident, maybe competent is a better word. He seems like an alpha male, but not a dude bro douchebag type. He seems like the type of military guy that we would want to have, not somebody yelling and screaming, not somebody that's a wuss ass or a policy wonk, but somebody
Well,
that says, hey, look, this is what's going on. We have this and that. And what's neat, too, to your point, there's a lot of these slowdown sequences. And he basically takes Jim, while the ladies are cleaning up and all that, he takes them on a tour of the facility and he shares with them their knowledge, which, again, if this is a rival group, that'd be dangerous to do. Jim's not proved himself to us really watching. We're watching him evolve, but he hasn't proved himself to this new group, and the new group doesn't have to take him in, and they just did. And so it goes through all
well,
this, and they even have a chained up zombie that they're saying, hey, we're trying to learn stuff from, and everything else there too. So you're waiting for the hammer to drop, and it does drop
well.
when they have a little conversation.
Like I said, this falls back to my earlier theory of the movie. None of them have guns. The only ones that have guns are the military, the army guys,
Yep.
because they were in the service. They had guns. And like I guess if it's true, Britain basically has where private citizens cannot own guns. So that's why the girl was armed with a machete. But then again, in a zombie apocalypse, you don't want to have anything that makes noise. You kind of want to do what the Gerald Dixon does. You want to have a crossbow where you take the bullets back, rip them out, use them, or make new ones. Silent and deadly with knives. So obviously these guys with the guns, I say you don't want to trust them. And he's taking a tour, and then as soon as you immediately see the zombie, that's another huge red flag. The fact that he hasn't killed the zombie means he's turned on. He loves this with the power. He's like, yep, I can do what I want. He's chained as my dog. We're studying him.
See, I don't think
And
of it
his
that way.
speech,
I think that's an interesting
his
point of
speech,
view.
his speech though is like, I want to see how long it takes for him to starve, stuff. It's like, dude, you're not a doctor. You're a thing. He's like, because this also brings back to The Walking Dead. There's another scene, Fear the Walking Dead, where they come across, a guy named Troy, and him and a bunch of soldiers, down in the Texas border between Mexico and stuff. What they do is they take bets and see how long it takes for someone to turn. Just they always paint in those zombie movies. It's always there's always finds a group of militia guys who basically like they do what they want. They kind of like, well, we're not, because at this point, they believe they're the only ones left. So they're, and you finally, you see after this whole speech of him showing the zombies off. The other thing is like when you see them go sit down for dinner, he's kind of like he's giving off that kind of evil vibe, or kind of like he's like the general, and he's like, well, what do you make for? He's like, oh, the eggs. He like, he goes eats eggs. Like he's like, these eggs are spoiled. Get up. He kind of making like, and the dude's kind of like, oh shit, like they kind of cower back a little bit, so how he just kind of like.
Well, yeah, you see the strength of the guy, not just from the intensity of his speech, but the way other people react to him. Specifically, one particular guy
Oh,
that gets taken away for something, but then, like you say, at this dinner table scene where he's all dressed up, and
well,
they're
yeah.
making it because they have new guests, which is
And,
really, really true.
and the thing
That's
is
why they're
that
doing it.
why would they take him in? What do they have off the offer other than two girls?
Humanity,
That's the other thing.
true.
Yeah, I mean, so that's another thing. This guy's walking with he's Jim's traveling with two women. Of course, one's like 13 or 14. Obviously but these guys have guns, and well, guys have needs.
And that's the crux
These
of the
guys are
movie, as we hear in the speech.
you know
Yeah, so the
what does a
major
guy
guy
want? The guy
says,
wants a full.
but here's an issue with that. Okay, not that you're not wrong, but again, some of the stupid parts of the movie are like, really, if it's only been 28 days, I personally, professionally speaking, I should say, don't believe in no fap November and all these stupid little things that they can do to reduce a man's natural urges and all that. Because no matter what your age is, no matter what your situation is, you've got urges, you've got needs, and it's sexual, and there's nothing wrong with that, nothing to be ashamed about, and it never goes away. That's just the bottom line. Anybody that says it does, I just don't agree with that. And then here, it's only been a couple weeks. But to your point, they've got a base. They think that they're the last people around. They don't know what's going on. They're a competent group led by this guy that
Well,
seems charming. But when he has the conversation with Jim, he says to him, says, yeah, we sent out the broadcast. Why? And he tells him just what you said, because we need women. I need to promise that to my soldiers, because what else do they have to live for? Because
yep.
what do men do? The world's created because it revolves around women. Women always say, "Oh, it's a man's world." No, it's not. It's a woman's world, because men work their butts off to do everything they can to improve their station in life to attract what they can in the best possible mate. That's just how it works, and it doesn't matter where you're at, what your politics are. That's human nature. And in here, what's creepy about it is, while you're right, you've got this kind of bad vibe from the guy. He's still very charming, not overly so, and it seems reasonable. But then you realize, yeah, Jim, you're kind of stupid. And you know what? The ladies, as effective as they've been, they didn't catch it either, because they go to take Jim out basically to kill him, like they did with the guy earlier. And while they're doing that, the girls are being kind of forced to dress up in dresses and being like offered up. And there's one fantastic line in here. Um, Once the ladies figured out what was going on there too, and they took Jim away, the older one says to Hannah, "Here, take these pills." And she goes, "What are you trying to do? Kill me?" And she goes, "No, I'm trying to make you not care." And I thought that's a really, really good line, because they know what's going to happen. She's not trying to,
Yeah.
have Hannah take the pills. And I thought that's the most terrific line in this movie to me, because, well, again, once they recognize the gravity of their situation, what's going on, we see the involvement of Jim into what he's about to become, because somehow he's able to get out of this situation he's in with some of the guys, and he decides to go back to the base. And of course, it conveniently starts to rain,
Well,
because it always looks
I
good on
love how
film.
he got away though. They took the other guy because originally Jim was gonna flee with the girls. They knocked him on the butt of the gun. So then they throw him in a cell with the other guy. And this other guy, yeah, the other guy who basically tried to help him. He said, "We're not animals." He's like, "I don't believe this, General. I think look at these people are proof. There's other life out there. Why are we sitting here just sitting on our butts? We could be helping people.
Right.
This is an isolated thing. It's like And yeah, he ends up getting basically like he's supposed to be like their sergeant, like like and the one creepy dude, the one that tried to make a move at Selena before, which caused the whole thing scene, prompting the general explain them that they need women. He's out there. He's basically just gonna he puts on the end of his rifle. He's gonna put a knife on your bayonet, and the dude's like, "Oh, you're just gonna it's all you respect, I'm your sergeant. You're just gonna stick me." And it's like he's like, "Freaking shoot me, you man." He's like, and he spits on the guy's face, and then he ends up by the other guy basically tells him the other guy who was working he's basically a meek. I don't know if he's a private or what he is, where he's supposed to be, but he's kind of like he doesn't like being there. They're in a basically deep in the woods. There's all these bodies surrounded them. They've obviously killed before, people they've robbed, probably murdered, or just bodies from the zombies running on the property, because they always clear them
Which
off
makes you wonder why they
whenever they
didn't
come.
turn or they didn't burn them, but let's not use our brain.
Yeah,
But it makes you think,
yeah,
wow, it's only been 28 days. How many people got the signal, came to the base once the base got
yeah,
established, and how many guys, males, did they whack
yeah.
and trim off just to have women?
So this so this guy freaks out, because he's like he's got an itchy trigger finger, shoots the sergeant, and in the confusion, you see Jim. He jumps in the pile of all the dead people.
Yeah.
Just kind of blends in. And remember, his hands are bound behind his back, so he can't really do much. So and now they're like, "Where'd he go?" Also, he knows he's gone. They run away. He's able to like jump over like the barricade. No, but he's shirtless because he got caught on the barbed wire. He manages to get his arms
several
free.
times early, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I'm just
You have to
saying,
have a
it's like
brain. That's a rule.
yeah, because it makes him more savage looking though.
Savage.
Uh,
That's the word for the night for him. With my
so
savage nipples, I'm coming to get you. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm coming at you with my savage nipples.
yeah, of course, it starts the storm and rain and stuff, and I love how he basically like draws everyone away. His plan of this, he's obviously, remember, we always think he's weak, this movie, but obviously you don't realize that he's actually smart. No, just
Yeah, all of a
because your
sudden
looks
he
are
gets a
deceiving.
brain. Yeah, exactly. And there's not necessarily a
Yeah.
lot of people this compound. I don't know if you can get a full idea on how many you think
Oh,
there are in
but
2050, but it seems like
this
10 to
part,
15 maybe.
what it seems more like 9 guys, armed guys,
Yeah.
soldiers walking around. That's all it was. I don't see much else. I mean, plus the one zombie guy it's chained up, the former soldier who got bit. You see him. He goes to the bridge and he starts doing the siren thing. The cranking it up. So that draws her like, hey, they figure out where he's over there. You see, Christopher Eccleston goes up and he's like, well, I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna settle this, one for all. And they get there, and they can't find him, and it's starting, not really raining, but it's dark stuff. I'm thinking, oh, I know what he's doing right away. His sound tracks things.
Yep.
So he's doing that and all stuff with the siren, and the dude, one dude goes here to look for him, and he basically like kills the one guy that's so Chris Reckles by himself, he's because he sees the guy in the Jeep and he knows that he's dead.
Yeah.
So then he kind of pushed them out as the zombies start to come, and he knows that the wires for the Jeep is ripped out, so he can't use it and stuff. So he uses it as a distraction to get back. Well, he's stuck there with deal with the zombies. And that's where you get your first a little bit of titties in this movie, bro. Those zombie titties.
Yeah, I mean, the zombies look great, and they do a good job, I think, of making them look kind of scary. I think The Walking Dead's and even Z Nation, I think all the zombies look really, really good. Now, that being said, do they look scary? I don't know. This movie, they kind of do.
Well, if anything, they look like people who just have tomato sauce on their face and their red eyes. But yeah, so he makes it back to the base, in there, and what does he do? Because he doesn't have a gun. So he basically he did have a gun. That's right, he did steal a gun from the one guy.
Mm-hmm.
He shot the chain that's holding, like, basically like the collar that's holding that zombie, allows him to go free. And the people in there are like, well, did you hear that? What's that? Like a gunshot? Or they thought it was like, the dude's like, nah, it's just thunder because it's thunder lightning outside. So the dude standing by the window, I'm like, oh man, this is like, and this because I forgot about this too. But when I saw this in a theater, I jumped a little bit. This is your jump scare here.
Mm-hmm.
The zombie just basically he turns around, he sees the guy, like their friend or whatever his name was, Steven or whatever, like the zombie. He turns like, oh, he's oh shit, and then jumps right through him through the window. He grabs him, just starts attacking him.
It's pretty
The other
insane.
dude's freaking out, and in the midst of this, the girls run to the door, and Pervy McPerverson or Creepy McCreeperson, we know call him. Right? He's there too. He's like, "We're going." And all of a sudden, he's like the zombie chasing the other guy. He's like, "Ah!" He's like, "Well," he yells at the other guy with him. He's like, "Well," because this guy's a coward. He's not going to go help anybody. He just wants to get out of here. He tells the other guy, "Go help him." So, and the guy goes to help him, and you're watching Jim watch through the window. He's seeing that the little compound, like little table where they're eating dinner table and stuff, where they kept all their food pantry stuff. One of the soldiers had hid inside the little the cupboard, and the one guy was was like he was gonna take out that zombie that first zombie, the soldier, and as he's going to land a shot, the other one who had been bitten too by the other one, he all of a sudden he comes up. We'll call him Beret Dude because that's the guy at the beret. It just attacks him, and they're both. It's just like everyone's just getting just like mauled to death, and stuff. And because so finally, after all this is cleared out and stuff, he goes. The guy who's hiding in the cupboard comes out. He's like, "Oh, I'm fine," and he's walking. And the next thing he knows, he walks right into the bayonet of the gun rifle. And you see Chris Eccleston's not Chris Eccleston, but Cecilia Murphy just holding the gun. He's like, oh shit. And he kind of like turns it and hears a zombie, and he lets the guy fall onto the bayonet more and walks away. It's like, man, it's just like the whole ending of this, and it adds the rain, the thunder, the lightning, all that stuff.
Yeah, it
Just
happens all really
it's
quick.
kind
It
of hard
seems
to
like it only takes like a 1 or 2 minutes.
yeah. I mean, you don't, it's just like and you see Christopher Eccleston finally shows up at the place. It's just like just chaos. I love this. Like, it's like, and now for people who might have left, like, in the theater, I don't know if anybody left, but anybody who's watching this, if you left like the first 20 minutes because there's a movie, you miss on this whole entire it's just a total tone of the movie just explodes.
Yeah,
This is the
big fan.
climax, man.
At the end, absolutely.
I was like, dude, and these are the kind of movies I love. And like, yeah, it kind of drags out, but when you get there, it can drag on for 50, 60 minutes. I wouldn't care. But once I get to this end part here, it's just like, dude, total worth it.
Well, let's state this that basically we're pretty much at the end of the movie. I mean, you see a scene in there at the end where Cillian Murphy's or Jim's digging his thumbs in the guy's eye, and the girls are seeing it. So you can tell both their eyes are getting big. You tell they're getting a little excited and hot for him because they're like, hey, he's not a complete wuss ass. I might bone him. And then I'm like, oh, the girls are gonna fight over him and all that because they're all dressed up in red dresses and stuff, and they all manage to escape. And now there's some different endings, but the typical ending that I've seen and what I recall after rewatching is the one that I on the rewatch today that I saw is that they're kind of out and it's no longer raining and they've got the word hell written out because they're writing hello out by this little stream area, and it looks like everything's happy. They all seem to be clean. They all seem to be whatever. It's like 28 days later. They got a little cottage, and you see this fly through what's going to turn out to be a jet fighter. But you see zombies just kind of laying there, and they look like they're dehydrated or starving or about to die.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing at the beginning of the movie, it's like to me, I was looking as a double entendre if I was remembering it correctly. Yeah, he got into an accident, but it was about 28 days later. One period's worth, 28 days that he awakens, and then they have their little adventure, which is a couple days, and then I think it's another period or so that he wakes up because he had gotten injured there at the end, and he's with the girl. So he still hasn't made sweet, sweet love to either of them, but they both want him, because now he's a man. But you see this jet fighter kind of turn around, and it seems like they've seen him, and they're all real happy, and they're all real positive. And I know there's some alternate endings. We don't typically get into all those kinds of things or speculate, but overall, for me, I think for my final thoughts, I think
Dude, do you know what I was
it's
waiting for?
what's that?
I was waiting for the missile.
Yeah, I
The
kind of
nuke.
was too. That would have been ironic, but no, this has a feel good ending, and even though probably shouldn't, but I think the way this movie is, it's a movie about the characters and what situations are, and again, it's strong female characters. The guy's not a complete dipshit or anything like that, but he's an average Joe, so it seems realistic. I think for me, the big negative is again when you start thinking of the decision making, which everyone always likes to question. Um, that being said, that didn't really bother me as much as really anything else. but the positives in this case to me totally outweigh what one or two negatives there are about it. It's got good music, but the cinematography is fantastic, and it's just fun to just sit there and watch because again, it's a long movie. It's about 2 hours long, so even if you think typically of Act One, Two, and Three, it kind of seems like it takes its time without going too slow, like Walking Dead or some other things do. They don't really feel like you're trying to flesh it out. And the characters you meet, I'm not going to say you care about them, but you don't hate them. And that's at least something, because a lot of characters today, you're like, well, I don't care if they die. It's a lot of horror movies. But overall, it's a great film. It's one of the best ones of that year, 2002, I think it was, that came out. Liked it, enjoyed it. We may talk about the sequels later, but overall, I'd say thumbs up on this one. This is a good film to watch. Again, check your brain
As
at the
far,
door. It's an action film. That's why I put it under Kicking It. It's
yep.
definitely not a horror or sci-fi to me. It's just an action
And
film.
remember, without this movie making a big success over there, you wouldn't have got the James Gunn, Scott Snyder, Dawn of the Dead remake reboot. If we got a reboot anything, it would have been like nowadays, and it would have been much worse than what we got back then. Because even that was a financial success. But the sequels that came after that, the reboots weren't as good. But uh, like I said, I always look at this movie being the one where this is where we first got runners,
Yes.
and I always be thankful for that, because otherwise it's just too. The Walking Dead, they don't rely on runners; they rely on just overwhelming numbers, and the people are worse. So I love the fact that you can because otherwise you could just kind of like, I'll just walk over here, I'll crawl over this, and then the whole trope is like, oh, the chute breaks, and then you fall into the zombies and you die, or this is like you actually have to be smart. You can't use the lights. You can't. They can hear it. They can hear it by noise, but they can also see the light because they're nocturnal. So they see a light goes on. They it just it draws them in. Sounds this is more survival. But
So you think
but
it's a
yeah.
great film as well, I take it, from the way it sounds.
Oh yeah, dude. I love this movie. And at the end, like the bad guys get what's coming to them. You mess around, you're gonna get the shaft.
You mess with the bull, you get the horns. All right, Doctor. Well, I'm glad the bat soup hasn't made you change your turn yet. So we'll see what happens because we have a special for St. Patrick's Day on Tuesday before top 10. Um, we'll state that shortly, but we won't do that here on this cast. So I'm really looking forward to that one too. That one's going to be a fun one, and it's also in the spirit of 28 Days Later for Contagion Week. So for the Doctor, for Anglin from I Love Comics, myself, Rob. Thanks for listening, guys. Stay extreme. We're going to get started on here on something in just a moment, having to do with movies and the coronavirus, I believe. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Good night.
Stay extreme.